like a lion was chasing his ass, right? You know what I'm saying? Like chasing a gazelle. I thought I was watching National Geographic. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, damn, this is just crazy. From that aspect, that was the only thing I was in. I was just like, damn. If he lands one of them right hands, he might kill him. And when he landed that right hand, man, that broke that damn jaw, man. Wow.
You were supposed to stop punching me when I hugged your leg, remember? I was gonna Venmo you. You were supposed to stop. I can't.
Ow, son!
Imagine walking away with $94 million, but you can't even open your mouth to celebrate because your jaw is literally wired shut. That is the haunting reality for Jake Paul right now. While the world is debating whether the fight was a circus or a legitimate contest, former world champion Tim Bradley just dropped a truth bomb that makes the whole event look even more sinister. Bradley didn't just analyze a boxing match, he described a hunt. He called it a National Geographic moment, a lion chasing a gazelle. But behind the flashy Netflix production and the record-breaking numbers, there's a brutal breakdown of what actually happened in that ring, and it's far more disturbing than a simple knockout.
I was impressed with Jake Paul. I thought that, following on from what we're saying, right? A few years ago, he was on Disney as a kid, acting up, and has decided to become a professional fighter. That takes balls, but he's obviously striving to be as good as he can be. You can see that in the way that he moves, the way that he is developed in how he's punching and performing. But to make a two-time world heavyweight champion that's still live, AJ's still got something about him, to make him miss in such an accomplished manner. All right, so at times he was jumping out and running around, but there were times when he was well in range and still making AJ unable to land a clean, solid shot. He deserves a lot of respect for that. And then the shot that actually finished the fight, that broke his jaw quite badly, didn't put him out. That shot he threw with serious intention has put a lot of professional heavyweights to sleep. He didn't go to sleep. He actually finished on his knees, didn't he? Laughing and spitting blood out of his mouth. So, like they say, it's a special type of crazy and a special type of brave to do it. But I actually, hats off to him, because he showed that he's developing some accomplished little skills in there to look after himself. The size difference is always going to fatigue him.
For years, people have whispered about the contracts behind influencer boxing. We've heard the rumors of no knockout clauses and scripted finishes in fights against legends like Mike Tyson or Chavez Jr. But Bradley says this time was different. He pointed out that for the first time we saw a no-rules fight. That sounds like hype, but in the boxing world, it means the safety net is gone. There were no secret stipulations to protect the golden boy. Anthony Joshua was allowed to be a real fighter, and that's exactly when the skill gap didn't just show, it screamed. When the truth finally came out, it wasn't just about who was better, it was about the terrifying realization that Jake Paul was finally in a ring where nobody was coming to save him.
I didn't know if this fight was going to be a real fight or not, it's really important for you to really pay attention to what a lot of these guys are saying. So, I saw in the comment section, one guy was saying, hey, Tim, they said that this is no rules. So, what you mean this is no rules? You know what I mean? So, now the truth is coming out. So, there was probably stipulations in the other fights that he had, in the contract, because they're saying, oh, no rules. Meaning, oh, it's all fair game. Hey, Joshua, you can do whatever you want. This is a real fight. So, the previous fights, this just lets me know that it was set up. A lot of this shit was set up. The Mike Tyson fight, the Chavez Jr. fight, a lot of the fights that he had after he lost to Tommy Fury. But yeah, this is a real fight. This was it wasn't really a fight, to be honest with you. It was not a fight, because Jake ran like a bitch.
Bradley's most viral take compared the match to a nature documentary, and if you watch the footage, it's hard to unsee it. He described AJ as the apex predator who finally realized his prey was paralyzed by fear. You see, Anthony Joshua is a different kind of human when he knows he's the hammer and you're the nail. Bradley noted that AJ fought like a big man for the first time in ages, mauling Paul and walking him down like he was invisible. Usually, AJ can be hesitant against elite heavyweights like Usyk or Fury, but against Jake, he looked like he was having a hard-on for the dominance. He sensed the fear, he smelled the blood, and he turned the squared circle into a hunting ground.
Damn, boy looked like a runaway slave, didn't he? That boy looked like a fish out of water. That boy looked like you know, like a lion was chasing his ass, right? You know what I'm saying? Like chasing a gazelle. I thought I was watching National Geographic. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, damn, this is just crazy. You know, from that aspect, that was the only thing I was in there. I was just like, damn. You know, if he lands one of them right hands, he might kill him. He might kill him. You know, and when he landed that right hand, man, that broke that damn jaw, man. Wow. You know, and Jake Paul didn't go to sleep. That's one tough white boy, man. I'm not gonna lie. That's one tough white boy right there, for real. But anyways, man, that's my thoughts, man. You know, this is what boxing has become. You know, this is what people want to see, I guess.
A lot of fans watching at home noticed Jake Paul looked exhausted early on. People started saying he was out of shape or that he didn't take the camp seriously. But Bradley, a man who survived wars with Manny Pacquiao, says that's total BS. He explained that Jake was in peak physical condition, but he was suffering from something far more draining, mental paralysis. When you're in there with a killer like AJ and you're constantly twitching, waiting for a life-altering shot to land, your nervous system just shuts down. It's like Bradley's fights with Pacquiao. The anticipation of the pain drains your gas tank faster than any treadmill ever could. Jake didn't run out of breath. He ran out of courage because the mental weight of AJ's presence was too heavy to carry.
You know, one thing that I would say, or at least add to the commentary was, you know, Jake Paul was in shape. He was in tremendous shape. You know, a lot of people looking and saying that because he ran out of gas or whatnot, that wasn't because of he was getting hit with big shots. Nah, that was nerves. That was all nerves. It's like when I fought against Manny Pacquiao, you know, you got to try to avoid that big shot. You know, I didn't move around a whole hell of a lot, but the fact of me trying to anticipate when that big shot is coming or trying to avoid it, man, that's what made him tired. You know, that's what made it was more mental than it was physical, because physically he was ready. You know, you got to understand he had 2 training camps for this. He probably trained 4 months for, you know, not this particular fight, but, you know, he was getting ready to fight against Tank Davis. And, you know, then he stepped in and, you know, AJ stepped in or whatever. But yeah, he's prepared. I mean, super prepared. He is one of the best strength and conditioning trainers in the world too. So, no, it was more so nerves. That's what it was. Think of it as like, you know, and then, you know, you put the movement on top of that. You know, you hear us say, a lot of the commentators say that like it's really harder to box and move than it is just come forward.
The moment the jaw actually snapped was a scene straight out of a horror movie. In the 6th round, AJ finally pinned the Gazelle in the corner. Bradley was screaming at his TV, telling Jake to fight back, to do something, but the influencer was just trying to survive. Then it happened. A pulverizing right hand that landed with the force of a sledgehammer. You could see the shock in Jake's eyes as his brain tried to register the impact. His jaw didn't just break, it fractured in 2 places, leaving his teeth out of alignment in a bloody mess. Bradley called him a tough white boy for staying on his feet, but he also didn't hold back, saying Jake ran like a vitch for most of the night. It was a brutal paradox. He was brave enough to take the hit, but too terrified to actually fight.
I think they're upset about being a part of the MVP Netflix era. They're getting big paydays in their 50s and 40s. Anderson all of a sudden is having this like revival. He comes across looking great. The knockout was great. The rest of the card, you know, multiple title fights, 5 title fights total, 1 undisputed on the prelims. Baumgartner in the co-main. You got up-and-comers. Like, all of this is good for boxing. And so you'll have people on this Monday say, this was a sham, this was, this was a black, all the usual stuff that we predicted they were going to say afterwards, ignoring the fact that boxing is on the biggest platform in the world, Netflix, ignoring the fact that Jake took on the biggest challenge he could possibly take on short notice. After Tank falls through, he goes and he's like, where's Francis? Okay, I'll go for the guy who beat Francis. I'll go for AJ. Ignoring the fact that, I think some people's stock were elevated on the undercard. Some of the fights on the undercard were really, really great. And ultimately, there isn't that much to be upset about. There isn't that much to be mad about. Netflix being involved in boxing is great. Jake stepping up and taking Anthony's best shots were great. I don't think Anthony looked bad at all. There were times where I felt like he was headhunting. There were times where I felt like he was trying to knock him out because I think he wanted to get rid of him. But you have to understand, when you have a guy who's running as much as he did and take shots at him or not for the game plan, that was his best way of surviving. It's like trying to chase a wet duck. You have to get him. And I think Anthony did actually a good job of pinning him into the corner sometimes, cutting off the ring, but it's hard to get a guy who's moving so much, who's clinching you, who's trying to do the antics that he was doing. That was the best chance for Jake to survive.
But here is where it gets really dark. While Jake Paul is in a hospital bed getting titanium plates screwed into his face, he's also checking a bank account that just grew by $94 million. Bradley finds this absolutely disgusting. He pointed out that Jake just made more money in one night than a pound-for-pound king like Terrence Crawford has seen in years. This isn't just about sports anymore, it's a popularity contest where the gatekeepers have failed. Bradley expressed a deep frustration that real boxing has no backbone, allowing influencers to use and abuse the game for astronomical paydays while the true lifers struggle for a fraction of the respect. It makes you wonder if we're all a little sick in the head for rewarding this kind of spectacle.
And he ends up getting the knockout, massive payday, and breaks his jaw on the way out. So I think at the end of the day, I'm in agreement with you that everyone kind of comes out of this winning. As history goes on, people will forget about the running around, and the next time Jake Paul fights, they'll be just as interested as the last time.
What do you think, PT?
I thought the spectacle was great. The broadcast was great. I think, outrage and controversy are the lifeblood of these events. If we came away being like, that was good, everyone's happy, that isn't what a Jake Paul fight is. This debate, this kind of sifting through the debris of an event is part of this. There is still an element of, what do we want to see this guy do next? What do we want to see? I think the problem, I agree with GC, what he said, he was trying to last in there. I think that's where the boxing purists are getting upset about this, because it did seem like he was in an escape room for as long as this was going on. He was just trying to get away from the fight. He did catch him, as you said, on a number of occasions. But I honestly think, right, so we were talking about Joshua's position here. You were at the start, where he was at in his career. He was going to come back, and according to Matchroom, they were looking for a top 100 heavyweight for him to fight, just to get him going again, to get him, boxing again. I think if he had fought that, a level of that kind of guy, and this guy came in and he was shooting these takedowns or whatever you want to call them that Jake Paul was on, I think he would have won a lot of controversy. He would have won a lot of criticism for that. But the thing is, we're watching a Jake Paul fight. This is millions of eyeballs. If that had happened, that wouldn't have been happening on Netflix. You wouldn't have all these people watching if it was a fight like that. The sell of the event is look how crazy this is. And it did seem crazy as long as it was happening.
If Bradley had been in Jake's corner, the advice would have been simple but suicidal. Kamikaze. He argued that the only way to beat a bully like Anthony Joshua is to attack him early, to put him on his back foot and refuse to show him respect. Instead, Jake got on his bike and circled the ring like he was looking for an exit sign. By showing AJ that he was scared, he gave the lion permission to hunt. There were moments where Jake made AJ miss, but he was too far away to ever land a counter. He was so preoccupied with not getting offed that he forgot he was supposed to be a boxer. It was a masterclass in how not to fight a heavyweight champion.
And he was moving as such. He was staying away from him. He was running away. He was trying to get distance. Then he was trying to step in to win this athletic competition, and then he's trying to get out of the way so that he doesn't get hurt again. He was fighting. Then it turns to where he can't stay away anymore. So now he's got to go the other way. He's got to go forward. So now he's clinched him. Now he's dropping down to his knees. He's going below the waist. He's getting to double leg positions. He was fighting. These guys were Jake was fighting for his survival, and you could so see it. You could see this animal who's been caged and is just trying to make it through, not even kill its prey, just make it through. And it was incredible. It was really incredible. So on the back end, some of the comments that I made or that I had heard were so confusing to me. It was a very good competition. I will tell you, it breaks my heart too that Anthony Joshua can't get him out of there in one round. Dave Portnoy had made a comment before the fight. He said, I like Jake. I wish well for Jake. Of course I'm taking Joshua. And then Portnoy made his point. And he said, because I believe in boxing. This isn't if I'm cheering for Jake or if I think that Joshua is more experienced or better. I believe in I believe boxing's real. If boxing is an actual sport, if it is an actual sweet science, then of course a guy that's done it 11 times cannot compete with the Olympic champion. Of course. This is before you get size in there, before you get professional world titles in there. A guy that's done this 11 times cannot go into the Olympic Games and medal. If boxing, in fact, should be believed. And I was with Portnoy. I liked it. I liked how he said that.
So, where does this leave us? Anthony Joshua is back in the win column looking for a 2026 mega fight with Tyson Fury to finally settle the heavyweight throne. Jake Paul, on the other hand, is drinking his meals through a straw, claiming he's still going to be a world champion. It's a delusional ending to a sorry spectacle, as the critics are calling it. We watched a man get his face reconstructed for a paycheck, and 60 million homes tuned in to see if the gazelle could somehow outrun the lion. It was a grim reminder that in the modern world, being famous is more valuable than being the best. The lion got his kill, the gazelle got his bag, and the sport of boxing might have just lost a little more of its soul. That's all from today's video. If you enjoyed it, remember to leave a like, subscribe, and ring that bell icon so you never miss our upcoming videos. And don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments section. Stay tuned, and we will catch you in the next video.